Well, it's time for our talk segment this morning. Nigeria's housing deficit has been estimated at about 15 million units, underscoring the growing challenge to access to decent and affordable shelter across the country. The housing, which is one of man's basic needs, plays a critical role in welfare, stability, and productivity, particularly for those in essential public service. The Inspector General of Police, Kaude Betokun, has emphasized that access to affordable housing is vital to improving welfare, morale, and productivity of officers of the Nigerian police force. IGP Egbetokun noted that officers who are assured of decent living conditions are better motivated to carry out their constitutional responsibility effectively, thereby enhancing overall security delivery in the country. Now, joining us for this conversation is a real estate investor and investment banker, Kunle Ilori-Diamond. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us on TVC Breakfast Saturday.
Thank you for having me.
I love your outfits.
First things first.
Well, the Inspector General of Police is speaking concerning ensuring better welfare for officers of the Nigerian police force. Why are you moving into this particular development, creating better housing for Nigerian police force?
First and foremost, it's something that I have done before while I was in Dubai. So I was working with one of the biggest developers over there, and we structured housing for the police, the Dubai police, and I saw how that went. I'm not really a TV person, but when I saw the Inspector General of Police talking about it, I said, this is a great occasion to really talk about this one, because this government actually listens. And one of the things that made me realize that this is not just something that they are talking over the paper or just for the show is that he also mentioned that they are now in partnership with the Federal Mortgage Bank. So that means that they are coming from ideation to execution of that idea itself. And a couple of things are just quite important when we're talking about housing, because the housing provision for members of the Nigerian police force is not just going to have an effect on how they live. It will also have an effect on how they perform their responsibilities to the Nigerian citizens. Because someone who is not thinking about when to pay his next rent, someone who is not thinking about bad living condition wherever he lives would not compromise his oath to the Nigerian police force. And I just feel like the most important thing while executing this is that, because we've seen housing scheme with every other parastatals in Nigeria, the Nigerian teachers and all of that. And one of the things that fails those kind of initiative is the fact that they do one size fits all for everybody. Let's say they want to do an housing scheme in Lekki, and then they expect every member of that parastatal to key into that. So you're doing housing scheme in Lekki, and someone who is a sergeant who earns little than an AIG, for example, and you expect him to be able to fit into a Lekki project. So I think one of the things that they can do, because I really love the fact that IGP is mentioning these at this moment, because that means that he cares about the police under his control. So one of the things I think they could do is they could include everybody. It's not about segregation, it's inclusivity. Make sure, for example, I'm more familiar with Abuja. So if they're going to do something in Abuja, they could do central areas like Wuye for, police in the commissioners and all of that. They could do Wuye for them. For people who are sergeant, constables and all of that, they could do Kuje, Karshi, all those satellite areas, so that everyone has something for them. And once they feel that like they are included in all of these things, it will motivate them more, because police officers are one of the backbone of Nigerian security. I bet it with you. Police Nigerian police, they are very effective if they found a good working condition for themselves. You could say a lot of things about them, but let's ask, as the right things, are they being provided, put in place
that
for
actually
them?
makes a lot of sense. And of course, police is your friend, so of course we should actually fight for them. So now, I'm literally coming from a military background. I actually know, I have an idea of what a housing structure is like in the military. And to be honest, there's a structure that works for them. As you have said, the housing and plans are structured in a way that everyone gets a slot, and it's not even, once you get a posting, you are moved into an apartment, and that makes sense. Now, what would you say has been the issue, literally being in, in that space? What would you say has been the issue? Because we've been talking about police welfare for the longest time. What would you say is the issue, especially surrounding the police and housing situation? What would you say the main problem there is?
I think it is the execution, because just like you say, we see, it reflects even in their barracks. Go to any police barrack, you would see that, because it's not just all about while they're in service. Yes, it's good. I'm in service, I'm posted to somewhere, and then I'm given a house there for whatever reason. But after retirement, what is their fate? Like, a lot of them think about their retirements, and once they start thinking about their retirements and they found out that the money they are making at the moment cannot afford a house after retirement, then they might compromise. That's what we're talking about. So if early enough, from when you get into the police force, into the system, there's a provision for housing. And I think another problem is that when these kind of initiatives are being put up there, tend to be handled by, because we say, okay, this is military housing system, it works for us, let us handle it. But we forgot that these men, they are military men, not builders, not real estate investors. So if you have a health challenge, you go to a doctor. You need someone to defend you in court, you go to a lawyer. So when you need house, who are you supposed to be partnering with? I think public-private partnership can work in this sense. So the Nigerian police force can come up with, okay, we have lands that are allocated to the police force. We'll provide the land, we'll provide the documentation, the approvers, then let us partner with real estate developers or people who already know how to put all of these things in place. Okay. We give them the land and the documentation and our structure, and then they go ahead and do it. And police, as far as I can remember, they have cooperative society. And the cooperative society can partner with these real estate companies and say, this is what we want for our police officers. We want them to pay this much, and we want it to be deducted from their salary or whatever way. But regardless, I like the fact that the IGP wants housing scheme for the police. But I think that execution is quite important in this kind of situation.
All right, I am one person that believes that if a man knows that his family is well housed, 50% of his problems solved, all right? So the IG talking about housing for police officers, for me, it's coming a little late. In fact, it's coming very late. The existing police barracks scattered all over Nigeria have one thing in common. They are dilapidated. They are dilapidated. So with this one that we are thinking of now, quite a number of questions I would love to ask you. I don't know if we have the time for that. With this one that we are talking of, are we just going to build and hand over as we have always done? Or we have a maintenance plan that the private sector that is partnering with government will execute? Are you thinking of that? Nigerians are not known for maintenance. So if, let's assume that this thing flies, and they say, Mr. Ilori-Diamond, you and your company build barracks for police men in the Southwest, for example, do you have a plan for maintenance? 10 years after the project, will that barrack still look like a barracks and not a slum?
Okay, so for maintenance part of it, I think what we need to pay attention to again is that when we do housing, in a way that it looks like a barrack, then maintenance will always be an issue, because in the military space, a barrack cannot be maintained or be managed by an external company.
Yeah.
So if it is a barrack, then it has to be the military taking over that by themselves. But what we really desire for our Nigerian police officers is an housing scheme that is out of the barrack. Let's say this is 1,000 housing units for police officers. It is an estate. It's like an estate. They have every amenity there. They have the supermarkets. They have the playgrounds for their kids. They have the hospitals, and all of that. It's like a house.
A town of its own.
How other people, how civilians live.
Okay.
You know, they should enjoy that kind of thing, because if they don't, then they would now have secret houses everywhere with monies that they got from wherever. You get, I don't want to make allegations.
Well, let me quickly come in. This is not the first time the Inspector General of Police have been talking about this issue of housing deficit for officers. In 2021, Usman Baba, the former Inspector General of Police, raised this issue of housing deficits. So how far can we go from here to ensure that we move from just talking to action?
I think the government, the Nigerian government at the moment, they listen a lot. And one of the reasons why I know that they listen a lot is reflected in the Appropriation Bill 2026. If you go through the Appropriation Bill 2026, you see a lot of allocations that were made based on what people complained about in 2025. So I know that for the Inspector General of Police to come out to say they are partnering with the Federal Mortgage Bank and all of that this time around, if most of us who are stakeholders in real estate and the likes of housing, if we talk more about it, I am sure, I'm quite sure that the government will make provision for that, because what moves idea to execution is actually the provision for that, the money provision for that. And again, the reason why I'm even talking about this right now is, because most of the time when the government had already allocated funds for different things, and then now this is coming on board, the best way for them to spend less and achieve more is still public-private partnership. Because if you partner with a real estate developer, for example, all you need to give him is a land and approval. He will use his own money to facilitate it and create a payment structure for these people, which means that the government is not really bringing out all the money to build it from their own pocket. So I think right now it is important that the IGP understands that one of the ways to move forward from here, not to just sound like every other IGP who has been, saying it, is partner with the private sector. Let them mobilize their own. They know that we have our way around it. We in Abuja, I have about 3 housing estates that are about 15 hectares each. So, and it's not like government gave me money to do that. So we have our way around it, and that is just the best way to make it.
You have all the titles?
Everything.
Okay, so now my question is, you did mention the appropriation bill, which is actually very important. Now on that bill, we literally see over 1 trillion allocated for police affairs, right? And of course, of that money, we have over 60 billion now allocated particularly to housing. Now, would you say that figure works with regards to the plan you're trying to talk about? And then that's on one arm, and then the other arm is, okay, fine, the IGP has mentioned it. Of course, he can't do it alone, and of course, people want it. So now, when you talk about legislative structures needs to be put in place to actually get this thought into action? Yes,
I think if you look at the money that was appropriated for the Nigerian Police House and in the appropriation bill, you would see that that money, as much as it sounds big, it would not cater totally for across Nigeria, because we have a lot of police officers across Nigeria.
So how much would you say? Just give a number or figure.
It's not predictable, but the best way that money, just like I said, can work across board is still private-public partnership. If the government thinks, okay, this is 1.3 trillion, 1.31 trillion naira for housing for the police. Okay, let's do it this way. The Southwest, let's appropriate this amount of money. Let's pick these developers. Let's mobilize them with these. They will do magic with it. And then, because it's Nigerian police force, imagine giving a developer that kind of work and he did not do it.
You got the person arrested.
Sure. No.
Well, it's a fine place to leave it. Talking about this, we hope to see that all these talks come into action and ensure that we have better welfare packages for our officers who are protecting the lives and property of Nigerians. Investment banker and also real estate investor, Kunle Ilori, thank you so much for
Thank you for having me.
on TVC Breakfast Saturday.